Yo, what is up everybody? It's Dynamic here and welcome back to another MLW video. Now in today's video, I thought it would be fun now that the playoffs are wrapping up to go back and look at the video I made earlier this season where I ranked every MLW team going into the season. There's some pretty bad takes in here. So I thought I would play a clip from that video and then give you guys obviously a summary of what ended up happening and if I was right or wrong about those players. So if you guys like MLW content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 2,000 subs and we are getting kind of close, you know, still a long way to go, but if y'all would subscribe, that would be great. And then also I will leave my Instagram down in the comments below for some extra content there. But without further ado, let's take a look at my 8th ranked team going into the season.
Then I have the Magic finishing last with around 3 wins. Now, I am a Magic fan, so this does hurt to say. Obviously, I'm going to root on my team, but I'm not super confident about what they have going into the season. AJ Ackerman took a pretty big step back from what he did his rookie year. Jack Agner, Trevor Bonham, Jordan Curdy, all the veterans on this team are unstable and a little bit useless at times.
So I'm not gonna lie, going back and watching that was pretty messed up to call out those guys useless, but I was pretty harsh, I think, even just a couple months ago, so I've tried to tone that down. But yeah, I mean, my concerns I think were pretty valid at the time. I just reasonably said that I didn't think that they had enough at the plate, which didn't really end up to be true. Brady Pearson was a lot better than I thought he would be. John Paul Gunn was slightly better than I thought he'd be. I thought he would be pretty good, so he still met my expectations there. But in the video, I did state that Grant Miller couldn't make all the games, and I was relying pretty heavily on the veterans in the making of that video. Guys like Trevor Bonham and AJ Ackerman, Jordan Curdy, who I just thought weren't very consistent. But 3 wins was still pretty harsh, and they almost made the playoffs, weren't able to get there. So yeah, I'm not really sure about that prediction. I think at the time it made more sense than what actually ended up happening.
Finishing 7th, I have the Cobras with around 5 wins. In my opinion, the Cobras right now are just the weirdliest constructed team in the MLW. Obviously, the Baranowski brothers retired, which some people think could be a blessing in disguise. We'll really have to see. So that means Drew Davis is going to be the second arm on this team. I'm an Andy Duran fan. I like Justin Esch, but I'm not super sold on the Zerleg and Flynn combo in that hitting lineup.
So even though weirdliest isn't a word, I do think I kind of nailed the prediction on this team. I even stated later in that clip that they're relying superly heavily on Caden Irwin, who I was worried about not being as consistent. He was as consistent, he's still dominant, but they relied on him enough to go to him as a manager. I obviously wasn't expecting that big trade. I think that's why I went with them at 7th. But overall, I just said that I could see them barely squeaking into the playoffs at most, and then at worst, I could see them being the 8th ranked team. And that's something that I'm gonna stick by because that's pretty much what they were. They just didn't have a super high ceiling.
So now finishing 6th, I have the Wildcats with 7 wins. I actually think Kyle did an amazing job this offseason with getting this team in a position to rebuild as well as make the playoffs. It kind of reminds me of like the NBA equivalent to the Pistons right now because they have a lot of youth here. Pat Ballman, Ty Fresnick, Sean Hornberger, a lot of guys that are younger. But so for some reason, the file that I recorded for the Wildcats just got deleted, but I'm going to talk about them now. I think my prediction for them was pretty good. I had them finishing 6th, but they finished 5th. And I just said that they have a lot of really good young players, but some question marks on consistency with these young players. And that's pretty much what happened. There were some injuries that happened to them as well, but I think my prediction overall was pretty solid. And looking at this team, they didn't necessarily have a bad season. They're a few games away, not even roster moves, from making a championship run. They just got to learn how to play with each other and play more consistent. At number 5, I have the Mallards winning 7 games. Honestly, I think this is a little generous for them. I don't know if they're a playoff team this year. They could miss the playoffs. It depends how Flood plays. It definitely depends how TC3 plays because he didn't have the best season last year, but I do anticipate a comeback. I think I've said that like 4 times this offseason.
So as you guys can see, the Mallards did exceed my expectations. I even had some hope, or not hope, but I had some worry that they were going to miss the playoffs. But they're in the championship, they're in the World Series, so they obviously didn't do that. But when I was going off and listing all those players and talking about them, they all had pretty big ceilings, and I feel like they all fulfilled their ceilings except for Tommy Coughlin. Jordan Robles was just insane this year. But yeah, no, this was one of those predictions where I just think I didn't really rate them high enough. I didn't give Trey Flood enough credit in the video, so they definitely exceeded my expectations.
The Gators with a round 8 wins as well. Now, this is a team that I think purely got better. They drafted Dustin Staggs at 2, and they won 7 games last year. So it's not crazy to say I think they'll finish 4th with just winning 1 more game. A lot of MLW fans are super high on this team. They see progression will happen in Sawyer Bean, Jeremy Adams, and hopefully Staggs is a really good player from the jump. I think an underrated part of this team, though, was what Jason Chadwick brought to the plate.
So I actually think I did a pretty good job on this prediction as well. I think I did a good job of explaining why I had them so high, but 4 is not as high as they went. They went all the way to 1. I think I was just underrating Chris Cheatham a little bit, and my expectations surrounding Dustin Staggs were still pretty mediocre. I thought he was going to be a good player, but I didn't think he was going to do what he was able to do this season. So that's something to look at as well. But overall, I mean, this team has just been showing out the entire time. It's kind of crazy that the 4 seed and the 5 seed that I had for the beginning of the season are in the World Series. It's crazy, but yeah, they definitely exceeded my expectations.
Finishing 3rd, I have the Predators, and I think they'll win around 8 games. Now, this team didn't really do much to get better. They didn't really do much to get worse either. It depends on what you think about their rookie, Evan Porter. There's been some concerns, at least for me, about his height, about his arm slot, maybe a little bit about his age. But from the MLW community, there has been some response to what I said about him, saying that he's actually pretty nasty. So we'll see how he does on this team. I just think that the Predators haven't been making the right steps to getting a second arm. They just keep drafting guys late in the draft. And
I'm not sure why, but I centered a lot of this prediction around Evan Porter as if he was going to have this ginormous impact on their team. And while he has had an impact on this team is still ride or die on Ryan Kratch. So I'm not really sure why I decided to go that direction. I think it was just a response to the draft video I made. But overall, I was pretty wrong about this team. They were making a huge adjustment middle of the season when they made that trade for Drew Davis. So it's kind of hard to predict a team like that. But I think my prediction for next year on them will be a lot more sound, knowing what their roster looks like. But, at the time, I just didn't love their hitters.
Now, in 2nd, I have the Eagles, the defending champs, with 10 wins. Now, the reason I have them 2nd isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just don't think they did a ton to get much better, but their roster is still really good. Obviously, they still have Dallas Allen, Landon Urquidy, but guys like Zach Whalen did retire.
I think even though the Eagles didn't finish 2nd, this was probably my best prediction of the video because they could have finished 3rd if they wanted to, if they didn't purposely lose that game. But the Eagles overall were losing pieces from last year, and that's the main thing that I recognize is they're going to be good still, but they're not going to be as good as last year. So I think I nailed the prediction on that point, but I do think that there was a couple things I missed, like Blade Walker didn't even play with them. I didn't focus enough on Carter Richard and Evan Trackman. I could have talked a little bit more about them, and even Carson Urquidy I barely mentioned, who had a breakout season this year.
Now, first, I have the Diamondbacks getting 11 wins and finishing 1st. Now, the reason I have them finishing 1st is because of how much better their team has gotten. I think Jimmy Norp is such an underrated manager when it comes to the GM prospect of the league, because not only did he draft one of my favorite prospects in Jake Sullivan, who could be a perfect secondary Game 2 pitcher, but they also have so much depth now when it comes to hitting.
So my number 1 team was the Diamondbacks, which I had them going all the way all year if you watch my prediction videos, and they were 1st round exits. I think that they still had the potential to go out and do something special if they made it past that 1st round, but I'm not really sure. This team just had so much depth. They had so many players that I was a fan of that could do different things. I thought this team was going to make it all the way and win 10 games. They didn't, but overall the team was still pretty good, so I think I kind of nailed that. And then they ended up losing some games in the regular season that they probably shouldn't have lost, but they did win some games they probably shouldn't have won either. So yeah, I mean, overall, guys, the prediction video, it's a prediction video for a reason, but looking back at it, it is pretty funny, just seeing everything that went down. But yeah, no, let me know what you guys thought of my original predictions, and let me know who you guys think is going to take home the World Series. It's going to be an awesome game. But yeah, guys, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and peace.